Chapter 5. Plastic Credits. The first credits were made of a holographic image of the imperial capital stamped with a serial number and encased in clear armor plastic. Officially termed imperial credits, but the people simply called them plastics. Over the years the credit system expanded to allow its easy use in personal terminals, and plastic credits came to be demonized by the authorities. Too easy to use them to avoid taxes was the cry, and one by one, planets banned their use. So now, only one planet, Grand Bazaar, still openly accepted plastic credits. However, they were still tolerated amongst some planets of the outer systems, and there, everyone seemed to know a friend that had some for emergencies. That was a strange conversation, Mia said as the crew sat facing the now blank comm screen in the Stallion's control room. And the way he stared at you. Like he was sucking you up with his eyes. Professor Frank never says a lot, Kira said. Unless he's talking about ships, Kyra added. And anyhow, our ship isn't ancient. He never had us visit a strange ship when we were students there, Kira said thoughtfully, her sister nodding. He knows we need help with the ship, Cal said. But he's being careful. He was definitely sizing me up. The comm screen beeped with a message and four heads crammed to read it. 2 days, Kira yelled. In the afternoon. I'll transfer the coords, Kyra added. Someone send an acceptance while I look at the maps, Mia said tapping on her main screen. Easy couple hours trip from Grand Bazaar. People will be inspecting our ship, Cal said. We need to make sure it's ready and tidy, and we need a storeroom and an engineer's room. We don't need a separate room, Kyra said. We like things as they are, Kira added quickly. He's right, Mia said carefully. You girls need a nice room for visitors to see at least. So we don't have to use it, Kira pleaded. Just leave your spare shoes and treasures there, Cal said. Can we design it? Kyra said, beginning to sound excited. Cal looked at Mia and she nodded, and now there was real anticipation in the air. We'll find a shopping center nearby and you can help set up an engineer's room, Mia said. Shopping was Cal's least favorite occupation, but with 3 women, he knew he was going to have to learn to at least tolerate it. After spending hours looking through catalogs on the web, the women decided they needed to actually feel the items, and they chose a shopping center in this planet that offered the most choices. A course was set and the thrusters warming up before Cal was asked. It's your project, he said to Mia. I'll follow you. That's best, Kyra said. Men don't know about fashion. At least the ship parking field had a travelator to get passengers quickly into the shops. Cal was able to follow behind while 3 women decided on beds and pillows and linen and storage suitable for the smaller rooms of the ship. He was asked his opinion on some of the items, but it was merely a formality, the women taking no notice of his suggestions. Then it was decided the ship needed some more homely touches, and that meant cushions and light fittings to fit on the walls because the ceiling ones were too clinical, and then some strings of sound-activated multicolored lights to hang around the engineer's room. And when Cal felt he would collapse of complete boredom, he was told their large purchases would be delivered to the ship in 2 hours. At least with that deadline, there was not much more time for extra shopping. Cal had the ship's freight ramp down as he stood around waiting for the delivery. The others flitted in to check every few minutes between arguing what room was going to be used for what. He felt it best he stayed out of the decisions. It might be his ship, but he was sure he wasn't getting a say in these choices. When the parcels arrived, Cal stayed in the hold and unpacked while girls ran to grab parts from out his hands and whisk them further inside. He had the pile completely unpacked before he made his first foray inside. The first room from the hold was now a storeroom, with boxes of spares neatly packed around the floor. Next change was the new engineer's room, with 2 beds, 1 each side. The beds covered with orange covers, with yellow pillows. Between both beds, on the far wall, was a fancy cupboard that had covered sections each side and open display shelves in the middle. He couldn't get to see too much because 2 girls were busy with tools installing new lights. You can see it properly when we finish, Kira said. Back in the control room, Mia had added cushions and a cover on the bed, and where his old locker holding his few clothes had been was now a new two-door wardrobe. "The right side is yours," Mia said, pulling the door open to show Cal's few clothes hanging there, his underwear stacked on the shelves under. "The twins are going to use your old locker for their spares." Further around the room were light fittings positioned around the wall waiting for the twins to finish with the ladder. "You haven't said much," Mia said when she saw he'd seen it all. "Fashion is not my area." "But," she said looking closely at his face, "I'm glad we're all making this our home. Even though I'm in debt and will most likely lose this ship in a couple of months, you're still willing to stick by me." Mia held his gaze and he saw her thinking. "You will find a way to keep this ship. I know you won't let your dreams go easily." The twins were helping Mia choose the right place to mount the new control room lighting when Cal's terminal beeped. "A job," Kira yelled, both twins dropping what was in their hands to run close to Cal. The tired face of Mr. Slee was on the small screen on Cal's arm. "Nothing I haven't yet excepting small job from that mining place." "You might do, no." Cal looked up from the screen and saw three faces willing him to accept. "We do." "Yes," Cal said. "Sent details through." "Details in head already you having. Seeing you when job done you doing." "Understood," Cal said, nodding into the camera. "See you when that job is complete." A hand held up and the connection cut. "That's our first job with plastic credits. Epturium fuel rods for delivery without certificates." "Our first pirate job," Kira said excitedly. "Where from?" Mia asked much more down to earth. "That mining company from before. Delivery address and payment amount on the pod when we get it." "Hurry up and let's go," Kira said. "We'll have everything tidied in seconds." It might have taken quite a few more seconds than the twins had said, but the ship was made ready to fly and Mia had the past destination set into the maps and Cal had obtained landing clearance and they were heading back into space. In 933-371P4, the planet where Cyrus Mining had a base, was in the viewport when Cal called for permission to land. "At least they are giving us the same landing site," Mia said as she did the slow arc down to the planet's surface. "It was much quieter with that coil fixed," Kira said. Cal wasn't so sure, it seemed as loud as it always did to him. Mia was timing their descent to exactly match the arrival time they had been given, and she managed it to the second. Cal in the hold ready to lower the cargo ramp and the twins standing by the door ready to help. "I'll get it," Kira yelled, running forward toward the Soul Man approaching. "I know what to do." "Delivery details," the delivery man said, holding out a paper in one hand while he released the small pod in his other hand to Kira. "Com this code to here when delivery is finalized. No other pleasantries." "Job done," the man turned leaving Cal to read the paper. The only thing that made sense was the charge. 4,600 credits. "Come and check before we lock it," Kira called. Cal did, noting that the pod screen had nothing at all showing. No supplier. No destination. No indication of what the pod contained. "All good. You can lock it up." He was left to raise the loading ramp and make sure it was sealed before following the twins back to the control room. "The details are on this paper," he said to Mia. "We need to com that code when the job's done." Mia studied the paper, then entered some data into her main nav screen. "Pretty close," she said, manipulating the holomap and zooming in the destination planet looking for the exact spot. "Nothing visible close. The com contact might change that when we get closer." "Does it look a safe area?" Cal asked. "In general, yes. Could always be a local war though. Or someone that simply can't get approval, like us. Set off when you're ready." The twins had decided that since this was a possible pirate job, wearing brightly flashing shoes was not the right thing, so they changed shoes on the slow thruster trip back into space. The ether space part of the journey only took an hour and Cal had the feeling Mia was not really pushing the speed, and when they dropped into normal space, they were very close to the destination planet. Much closer than they should have been, Cal thought. Back to you, Mia said. Captain to call. Cal called the contact on the sheet, the call answering in one beep. Captain of the Sea Stallion here. Urgent pod delivery for you, Cal said in an official tone. The answering message was as official as Cal's. Delivery coords by return. Payment ready in 60 minutes. 60 minutes. We will be there. Beginning descent, Mia called out. No signs of trouble on the planet's surface so far. The twins should have been monitoring the consoles, but instead they were lined up on the main viewport. At least Mia was manipulating the maps to study the area around the exact landing space. Looks all clear. Just some large buildings that might be ship hangars. I'll get a blaster for you, Cal said. We need them too, the twins said together. You're with me. No blasters. We're normal traders for now. How come she gets a blaster? Kira said. She's our backup. She's the one who will protect us if we get into trouble. We should have hidden blasters, Kira said quietly enough for Cal to pretend not to hear. The descent felt painfully slow. In fact, it became so boring, the twins went back to installing the new control room lighting. That was until Mia called out, landing area in sight now. 2 minutes to ground. Cal made for the freight hold, the twins scampering behind, leaving Mia in full control of the control room. Not that she wasn't always really in full control of that room. The twins undid the locks on the strong box ready for quick access to the freight, while Cal stood by the ramp controls. As he felt the landing skids touch solid ground, he pushed the button to lower the ramp. 2 men approaching, Mia said over the speaker system. Looks safe. The ramp was down enough for Cal to see the 2 men, one of them holding a briefcase-sized pod. Welcome, Cal called out, then to the twins, get the freight out. As they did that, he lowered the lid of the strong box, making it into a table to complete the deal. Our pod on one end. The men were climbing the ramp now, heading to where Cal was standing. Your freight ready to check, gentlemen, he said. 4006, the man with the briefcase said. On here too, Cal said. We can all inspect the contents together. Both pods now resting on the lid of the strong box, the man opened the one he was holding and Cal could see the glittering of the credits. His companion came to the freight pod and entered a code and the lid opened. 6 bright purple charged fuel rods. Very satisfying deal, gentlemen, Cal said loudly, as one of the men closed the freight pod and took hold of its handle. Happy to deal with you any time. The man without the pod nodded in Cal's direction, and both men headed out toward the ramp, while Cal closed what was now their pod and indicated to the twins to take it inside while he waited for the ramp to be clear to close it. Parking orbit, Cal said when he got back to the control room and the others made ready to fly. Safely in orbit, it was time to count the credits. Cal opened the pod and tipped the contents on the bed, the others rushing to run their hands through the plastic squares, the glittering holographic images making it difficult to identify exactly how many there were and what denomination. Counting time, he said. Let's see if we were cheated. The twins took over the counting, setting them out in piles of 100. You can see why people were happy to turn to terminal credits, Mia said. But these can't be traced, Cal added. It took longer than Cal thought, and then another account was called for, but finally the twins said that it was exactly right. 460 set out for my agent, then half what is left to Mia, Cal said. The split was much quicker now the credits were in piles. Now 100 to each of our engineers, Cal said. Really, the girls squealed together. All my crew get to share in the loot. The rest? Mia asked. Things for the ship and maybe treats for my hero crew, Cal said. Now after I send this receipt code, how about we go to the Grand Bazaar for a quick call? I want to look for a couple of spare seats for the control deck, and maybe you women want some things to add to your wardrobes. We'll have to be fast, Kira said. We don't want to be late going back to school. 1 minute and we'll be in ether space, Mia said. tidy quickly. This was a fast trip. No care for their dwindling power supplies, Mia held the speed up to keep the shields hovering around 90% load, and then she burst the ship into normal space far too close to the planet's surface. No leisurely orbit to orientate, the ship was already falling groundward without help of the thrusters, and the twins were at the view screen trying to spot a landing place. "That was great piloting," Kira said. "Lucky I don't have a captain's certificate," Cal said. "That way I can't lose it." "Just say the map coords were wrong," Mia said. "I found a parking place over to the left." "What do you want us to look for?" Kira asked toward Cal, the twins leaving Mia to finish the descent and park without help. "Chairs matching these for passengers, and whatever parts you need to mount them. And then some nice storage bins for your parts, and any extra tools you might need to. You can begin looking while I go and pay our agent." "That will be such fun," Kira said. The ship on the ground and the thrusters winding down, and there was a rush to be ready, with the twins leading the race for the main hatch. Inside the bazaar, Cal paid the 4 credits entrance fee and Mia led them toward the area of ship furniture. This was going to be a big job, the lines of chairs disappearing into the distance, and there seemed to be no order in the way they were presented. "We know what to look for," Kira said. "You go and pay the freight." A nod to Mia, and Cal left the girls and made for the office of his agent, Mr. Slee. "Good job you are doing, I am hearing," Mr. Slee said while Cal was getting the pile of credits from his pants. "Pleased seeing these, I am." The plastic credits almost snatched from Cal's hand. "No easy for me to getting these. Everyone terminal having these days." "I was pleased to get them too," Cal said. "Payments for ship are taken automatically." "I knowing this. Why, I knew we working together good. Soon I need to find where I can get fuel rods," Cal said, seeing Mr. Slee quickly scan his eyes both sides. "Was told what I need is not possible to get." "Careful you being now." "Careful to the most. Your ship I be knowing, and subjects not always possible to say, but questions I asking for you. Everything possible for price, but you knowing that already. Finding what you seek without big credit not so easy. If I finding something you afford, I telling you in face. Understanding, no. I understand. I'm visiting a man who might have some sauce tomorrow. You still wanting work?" "Yes. You are my only agent." Mr. Slee was nodding and smiling. Cal was sure his agent knew his position better than Cal did himself. "Advice I am giving you now. Advice from old man that once had big dreams. Making that pilot you have your wife and treat her as princess. Doing that while you have time and your life will grow." Cal faced Mr. Slee's eyes, seeing the man in a completely different light. "I have asked her and am waiting for her to agree. I knowing people who helping you. You bringing her to me and we convince her together." Finding the others was not as difficult as Cal imagined. The 3 bright orange tops were easy to spot, and as soon as he got close he knew the others had found the right chairs. 2 engineers pulling and poking the beige leather seats. Closer still and it was clear they were real leather, just like the others on the ship. "These are the best," Kira said when she spotted Cal. "They are even better than the ones we have now." The closer Cal looked, the more certain he was that these chairs had originally been on a ship like his, if not his exact ship. Weapons and engines station chairs. Well padded and with leads where the automatic adjustment cables connected. These had most likely been swapped for the simple ones that were on the ship now. Some dealer made even more profit from the ship. "How much?" The 3 women all looked around, so it was up to Cal to find an attendant. 1,000 for that pair, sir. The best control chairs you will find." "I only want the chairs, not the whole ship," Cal said. "Chairs like these are worth every cent, sir. But I can offer you free delivery to your ship." "What about mounting hardware?" "Your crew can select the parts they need. Also show them some nice part bins and maybe we might come to some deal." "Should I get these seats packed while we select the other parts, sir?" Cal nodded. back to being nearly broke again. 1,023 credits for the final package. Cal was still shaking his head while the large shipment was being loaded onto a transport pod. "Parking space 47A, he said. "I'll go and wait by the hold. I'll take the girls and we'll look around for more girly type things," Mia said. "We won't be too long." Back by the ship, Cal didn't need to wait. Thanks to the magnetic guide system, the pod was patiently parked right by the freight hold ramp. Soon he had the pod in the freight compartment and he worked alone to get the chairs positioned into the control room. At least the parts bins were lighter, and those he left by the spare parts. Now all he needed was help to swap the chairs and make the ship ready to fly again. The three women returned to the ship carrying strings of bags. Cal expected a long period of show and tell about their purchases, but the bags were thrown on the bed unopened, and all attention was on the new chairs. "They're going to fit perfectly," Kira cried as she bent over the mounting plate. "I'll get the spanners," Kira yelled, and she raced out toward the storeroom. "They're nearly like my couch," Mia said, grazing a hand over the smooth leather. Everyone helped in swapping the existing chairs for these new ones. Then the twins found there were spaces to fit the spare chairs near the consoles, as though they were originally for second-in-charge people to sit close to the main station. Then when the leads were connected to the new seats they worked at first go, Kira sitting on one to test and the seat automatically molding itself around her and then amplifying her actions. As she leant forward, the whole chair moved forward. Leaning left or right made it turn to match, and lying back made it recline. "These are the best ever chairs," Kira yelled. "Better than the pilot ones even." The fact they worked so well was a bonus according to Cal's thinking. Just having the extra chairs made the whole control room look like it was a real serious spaceship. The sort of picture he had spent his youth imagining. "I was worried you should have been putting the credits toward the power, but I can see why you wanted these." It was Mia by his side, the twins still playing with the chairs. "A real spaceship now," Cal said softly. "With a ship and a crew like this we can go anywhere and do anything. Boys and their dreams." "Those dreams got me this far," Cal said, feeling the warmth of Mia's hand against his. "My agent told me that if I took you with me to see him, he would get us married." "You told him all about us?" "Nothing. But he seems to know more about me and the ship than I do." "Is that good or bad?" "Good. I trust him a lot. This last job. He trusts you too." "That was obvious. You got things for yourself. And the girls. Fill up their wardrobes, once they've stopped spinning around in those chairs. Maybe time to install those spare parts bins," Cal said loudly, and the chairs stopped spinning and two engineers raced toward the store. "Next time I'll take us all to visit my agent." At least Mia still had hold of his hand. And maybe he thought he felt her fingers squeeze just a tiny bit more into his. Maybe things would really work out. The Stallion Book 1. Big Dreams but No Credits. A Space Adventure. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2023-2024 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Cover and text written and assembled by hand without use of artificial intelligence.